The most unportable portmanteau I've ever seen. A portable bar is more like it. Must be hard work transporting this big, heavy thing halfway around the globe. And the Baroness was lucky that the other freight cars were only lightly damaged by the explosion. An impressive piece, but I don't think it'll get me anywhere with the murder investigations. The notepad has the ship's emblem on it. I suppose all the first-class cabins have them. It says, Inspector, be in the saloon at 10 p.m. There is a murderer on board and I will expose him. B. The Baroness seems to have known the murderer. And that means that the Raven can't be the murderer. He never killed anybody. Legrand probably never got the message, otherwise he'd have said something. The mannequin surely came with the cabin. A mannequin for the Baroness's clothes would have a more generous figure. Apparently, the Baroness didn't have time to unpack her bags. Or rather, didn't have time to tell her butler to unpack them for her. Sifting through all that would take ages. But here, the Baroness's handbag. Ha-ha! A small leather-bound book. 1964 is engraved on it. This must be the Baroness's diary. Cosmetics, a handkerchief, a spectacles case. Nothing special. Let's see. Yes, it's a diary, all right. Difficult to read. No entry from yesterday. A brief, sober description of what she's done recently. Met Morris, arranged benefit concert for renovation of Louvre Southeastern Wing, Times photo shoot for Eye of Sphinx, BM, poor excuse for photographer, too fidgety, and so on. This entry looks strange. The handwriting is shaky, difficult to read. Dreamt of Bobby. Yesterday would have been his birthday. Next week, Jay's. The Baroness was a very busy woman, and it looks like she had to cope with loss. She writes about Bobby and Jay. Neither seem to be alive anymore. Almost every family lost loved ones in the war, maybe hers as well. I'll leave it there. I don't have time to read all of it. Something's under there. Down feathers, maybe from a quilt or a pillow. Nothing special. Although, it seems like one of the feathers was scorched at the top, literally burnt. I'll take it with me. A big, ugly, and impractical vase. If it had a wider opening, one could at least use it as an umbrella stand. Can't see anything. Wow, heavier than it looks. Aha! More feathers, and they're singed as well. I'd better take it with me. Why were the down feathers tossed in the vase? Or is there anything else in there? There may be something else in the vase, but the neck is too narrow to reach in with my hand. There may be something else in the vase, but the neck... A tape recorder. Must go with the built-in speakers. Probably part of the cabin's furnishings. The tape recorder is older than the hills, but it was once very expensive. Top of the range, and it doesn't come cheap. Strange. There's only one reel. And it's the wrong one. No. No sign of the original reel. A reel made by Zeibling. I know the brand. Zeibling's tapes can be overwritten many times without losing quality. They're used in offices so that executives can record messages for the secretaries on the same tape over and over again. But they're not good for much else. They're robust, but they don't offer much in terms of sound quality. There's still blood on the mattress. The sheet and the blanket have already been removed. To analyze them, I suppose. Nothing. The blood spot is the only sign that someone committed a crime in here. Somehow... That's odd. The blood is so... red. Shouldn't it gradually darken in the air? Turn brown? The unusual color of the blood could be something that Legrand and Dr. Gebhardt missed last night. All cats are gray in the dark, as the saying goes. I should take a sample. The portholes face the side deck. If someone climbed out of the cabin through a porthole, Legrand and I would have seen them. The portholes are locked. One cannot open or close them from outside. It's the same problem as with the door. If someone left the cabin through the porthole, how did they lock it? And the Baroness wasn't shot from outside. The doctor said she was shot at close range. The Baroness's butler looks like he didn't get much sleep. I would describe his facial expression as worried. Hello, Mr. Inch.
Oh, Constable, hello.
You look the worse for wear. It must be terrible for you.
Quite terrible. No one will hire me now.
Excuse me?
My mistress was murdered. Would you hire a butler who's been mixed up in a murder?
But if it turns out that you're not guilty...
If. But what if not? Who else would they blame? There are no gardeners on this ship.
I understand your problem. Under these circumstances, I'm sure you'd answer some questions that could help clear your name, wouldn't you?
Of course.
Did you notice anything suspicious last night?
No, sir. After the Baroness went to the saloon, I went to the forecastle. I was there until the alarm went off. I went to the side deck and arrived shortly after Professor Lucien and Miss Miller. We found you and Inspector Legrand there. You were unconscious, and the inspector asked us to take care of you.
Did you hear the gunshot?
No, just the alarm, sir.
You said you were on the forecastle. It sounded like the Baroness let you have the rest of the night off.
Not entirely, sir. One of the crew informed me that the Baroness wanted to be roused at 10:15.
Right. Why was that?
I suppose that she wanted to toast the success of the journey with the captain and the other passengers.
She hadn't intended to take a nap, then?
That was not her way, sir. She had a lot of spirit, shall we say, when it came to social engagements and a glass or two of champagne.
The Baroness's cabin seems to have been ransacked.
Indeed, sir, by the Baroness herself.
Really?
She was searching for something the entire afternoon.
And did she find it?
I think she did, sir, yes. She was in high spirits when she finally left her cabin.
You wouldn't happen to know what she was looking for, would you?
I'm afraid not.
Would you describe the Baroness as orderly?
Well, she always had a lot of responsibilities, sir.
That doesn't answer my question.
She used to take a lot of luggage on journeys, and I helped her keep track of it as best I could. She was always very angry when she couldn't find something.
What about the photos and the documents I saw in her cabin?
I really don't know. They were out of bounds to me, sir. Memories from the war, I'd say. They meant a lot to her.
The Baroness seemed to be pretty drunk the last time I saw her.
Is that so?
Does that surprise you? Did the Baroness not drink?
Oh, yes, she drank. It was no secret.
I understand. How serious was her habit?
Serious enough, sir.
Was she under any medical supervision?
Certainly not, sir. She adamantly refused to see a doctor. Like so many elderly women, she had a distinct aversion to hospitals and the like.
How long had you worked for the Baroness?
6 months, sir.
Only 6 months? I always thought that butlers stayed with their employers for decades.
Those decades have to start at some point, Constable. Her former butler wasn't able to fulfill his duties any longer. Gout, sir.
I understand.
I took on his duties and hoped for a secure position for the next 20 years.
May I ask what happened to your arm?
A souvenir from the war, sir.
Doesn't it hinder your work?
Yes, sir, obviously.
I didn't mean to offend you.
The Baroness had a soft spot for disabled veterans. I think she'd been through a lot herself.
I think that's all for now.
Please, sir, find the murderer. You have to clear me of all suspicion.
An antique wooden globe. If Galileo hadn't asserted himself back then, this would be a flat disk now. The globe nicely shows that 4/5 of the Earth's surface is covered by water. Looking out the window, I'd call that an understatement.
Come in. Constable?
About the tranquilizer.
Who gave you the glass of champagne?
It was Captain de Conti.
You're sure?
He doesn't deny it, but he also says that the glasses passed through many hands that night and that everyone had access to the champagne.
So it could have been anyone.
Maybe the question isn't who put the poison in the glass, but rather who it was they wanted to poison.
Smart. And who were they trying to poison?
Dr. Gebhardt? The captain got the glass from him.
An unconscious ship's doctor. That sounds like it would be more use to a murderer than a drugged constable.
You think so? Did the murderer have reason to assume that his shot might not kill the victim immediately and that Dr. Gebhardt would be able to save her?
You're right. That's improbable. My ego is just searching for reasons for them to want to kill her, and not me. Good job, Zellner.
I found feathers in the Baroness's cabin.
Really?
Some were under the Baroness's bed, others were in a vase next to the door.
I hope this is leading up to some information that justifies this interruption.
Some of the feathers are singed.
Show me. Well, you may have something here.
I think that someone fired a shot through a pillow or something like that, and the muzzle flash scorched the down.
Yes, possible. Try to find the pillow and we'll take it from there.
I took a closer look at the blood spot from the Baroness's bed.
Yes, what's wrong with it?
It looks odd.
Odd?
I think it should be darker.
I understand. The iron in blood causes it to darken the longer it's exposed to the air.
Right. And
we don't have time to waste. Dr. Gebhardt examined the body thoroughly. He would have noticed if anything was wrong.
And you trust Dr. Gebhardt completely?
I trust everyone as much as is advisable. There will be a complete autopsy in Cairo. Until then, the doctor is one of the few people on board who is not a suspect. You, him, the stowaway, Constable Oliver, and I all have alibis.
There are still enough suspects left. I was able to make the traces of a note on the Baroness's notepad legible. She wrote that a murderer is on board and that she'll unmask him. She asks the recipient to meet her in the saloon at 10 p.m. If we can find the recipient.
I was the recipient.
Monsieur?
When I entered my cabin last night, I found a message on the floor. Someone must have slipped it under the door.
Why didn't you say anything about it?
I didn't know that I was obliged to.
We are partners.
Not really. You're helping me out until we reach Cairo, because you somehow managed to remain on board.
But
I'll choose when and with whom I share information. You can accept that and continue assisting me, or you can spend the rest of the journey on a deck chair thinking about missed opportunities.
And none of this is by any chance related to the fact that the message doesn't suit your Raven theory. The Baroness knew the murderer from the past, and he was already a murderer when he boarded the ship. The Raven was always just a thief, not a murderer.
Careful, Constable. Are you accusing me of perverting the facts?
Of course not, monsieur.
Then let's get back to work. Good day, Constable.
I'll be in touch if I uncover more clues.
Very well.
As expected, fresh ice and tongs.
Constable Zellner, what is the meaning of this? Are even the police light-fingered nowadays?
I need this tool for a criminal investigation.
Well then, why didn't you say so? But bring the tongues back when you're done, otherwise I'll have cold fingers all day.
Could work. There's something in there. Ah. Someone stuffed this in the vase. Looks like it's been used to muffle a gunshot. If this isn't an important discovery, I don't know what is. Legrand, here I come. What a discovery. This pillow was obviously used to muffle a shot. Legrand, here I come. A singed pillowcase is proof that there must have been a second gunshot. Inspector?
Can't you knock?
I didn't realize. I'm
not getting anywhere. I'm going to question each passenger individually. Anyone without an airtight alibi will be checked for gunshot residue.
But, Inspector...
People trip up when you put pressure on them, Constable Zellner. The Raven is nervous. He's changed his methodology and become a murderer. I'll see it in his eyes. After you.
But, Inspector Legrand... We have no proof that the Raven and the murderer are the same person. Quite the opposite. The Baroness's message hints at the fact that she knew the murderer and that he'd killed before.
You may not know it, but I do. I will catch him with or without your help.
I don't believe it. What's gotten into him? Ah, well... It makes no sense to tell him about my theories if his opinion is already set. I need evidence. Or better yet, the murderer. I also need his lab if I'm going to get anywhere. I need to get in there somehow. And I really need to talk to the stowaway. He may have information, and the inspector will just ignore him since he's too young to be the Raven. Legrand locked the door. The lock isn't especially secure. If I had a wire or something like that, I could probably pick it.
Mr. Kreutzer, come on, you have to give me a bit more. You're the only one who was on the train and who has no alibi for last night.
As I said, I was in my cabin.
Are you sure that it was your cabin and not the Baroness's?
Legrand will question the guests one after another. But if he doesn't get the answers that he wants to hear, it could become unpleasant for them. English ham and eggs. One advantage on an international trip is the international breakfast. Many of my fellow countrymen think it's outrageous to eat fried bacon, sausages, or anything heavy for breakfast. I, on the other hand, think ham and eggs are the only worthwhile contribution the English have made to international cuisine. It's not fair. There's a magnificent buffet, but I don't have an appetite. Maybe a side effect of the tranquilizer. Excellent. That's just what I needed. Legrand is absorbed in the interrogation. He still seems pretty annoyed. The violinist seems to be bearing the brunt of it. Legrand will attend to the interrogations, and I'll handle the investigation. I won't talk to him again until I'm ready to present the murderer. Lady Westmacott, may I bother you for a moment?
By all means, Mr. Zellner.
How is the questioning going?
Are you implying that I'm an eavesdropper? The inspector is placing a lot of pressure on our dear Mr. Kreutzer. He's the only one who was on the train and who doesn't have an alibi for last night.
Perhaps. But him? A murderer?
I know people like him. He doesn't have enough backbone to kill someone in cold blood and remain so calm. He'd turn it into a drama and then a farce, drink himself insensible, and then, railing at fate, pitch himself into the sea. Forget him. Legrand is wasting his time. Mr. Kreutzer just happens to be a perfect fit for the inspector's image of the Raven.
Athletic, cultured, moves among the rich and famous.
I'll eat his violin if he's the Raven or the murderer.
I have to be going, Lady Westmacott.
Please keep me informed, Constable Zellner.
Of course. Captain de Conti seems old and tired. The price you pay for a life like his, I suppose. I'm sure Captain de Conti wouldn't mind a chat, but I don't think he can help me at the moment. Miss Mayers seems to have found an opportunity to do nothing. Hello, Miss Mayers.
Hello, Mr.
Constable Zellner. Do you think it's appropriate to go sunbathing in a situation like this?
What situation?
A woman was murdered last night.
If refusing to sunbathe could bring the dead back to life, I'd go back to my cabin immediately.
Did you hear or see anything suspicious last night?
No, I didn't feel very well last night. I went to bed early.
So, you're feeling better this morning?
Thanks for asking.
I'm sure your parents are truly sorry that they can't be with you at this difficult time.
Maybe, but I'm not a little girl anymore. And thinking about my fiancé keeps me going.
You're engaged?
Yes, my boyfriend and I got engaged right before the trip. I want to surprise my parents, especially my dad.
I'm sure he'll be very surprised. But what will you do if your father doesn't agree to the engagement?
What choice does he have when he put me on this boat full of thieves and murderers in the first place?
Charming. Enjoy the sun, Miss Mayers, and don't let us disturb you.
If you're trying to make me feel guilty, Constable, it's not working.
Ahem.
What do you want?
Inspector Legrand is questioning the first of the passengers in the saloon.
And?
It will be hours before he gets to the stowaway.
And?
We'll save time if I question him.
We'd also save time if you stopped asking me the same things over and over again. I will not let you in. What time is it, by the way?
Got an appointment?
No, but I'm hungry.
Go and get yourself something. I'll mind the door in the meantime.
Aha. You could bring me something, though.
So, what do you want to eat?
Oh, anything. An apple or something like that.
There's ham and eggs in the saloon.
Can't touch him.
Why not?
Sergeant Mills.
Hmm?
He's responsible for the fitness of the unit, and he'll chew you out if he thinks you've packed on a few pounds.
I see. Leave it with me.
Yeah, thanks.
The bottle should be full of water, unless the good constable happens to have a secret alcohol problem. No way to verify that. I can't get the bottle without him noticing. I wonder if this game is an advanced version of bocce. Matt is keeping himself busy with that strange game. He seems to be okay again, but I think he'd be running around all over the place if he'd really come to terms with what happened on the train. Miss Miller and the professor are talking intensely. She seems pretty relaxed, by her standards. Salty sea air in my old lungs, wind in my thinning hair. If I hadn't become a policeman, I could have been a sailor. Good morning, Miss Miller. Professor Lucien?
Constable Zellner, how are you? I heard you passed out last night.
Well, not quite. I was poisoned.
Oh.
That wretch!
Who do you mean by that wretch?
That stowaway. That new Raven.
The young man can't be the murderer. Constable Oliver had already apprehended him when the shot was fired.
You mean...
Whoever killed the Baroness is still on the loose.
I think I should take my leave. I'd like to rest for a while.
One last question, Professor. The safe in Legrand's cabin can only be opened with 3 keys. Am I right?
That's correct. We sent the first to Monsieur Mokhtar of the Egyptian Museum via air freight. I have one, and the inspector has the other.
But it was originally planned that someone else should carry the 3rd key, right?
You are well informed, Constable. Baroness von Trebitz should have had it. But then there were concerns, and for that reason, Inspector Legrand took it himself.
Was that his idea?
Well, yes, you could say that. I want to go back to my cabin. I'll see you later, Mary.
Oh, of course. See you later.
I didn't want to interrupt your conversation with Professor Lucien so abruptly.
I don't know what's wrong with him.
Learning that there's still a burglar on board seemed to frighten him.
He was so relaxed the whole time, and then...
And then the stupid Swiss constable came by and made him anxious.
Oh, I didn't mean that.
No matter. I'm sure he'll calm down and come back soon enough. May I ask you a few questions?
Of course.
How is Matt? He seems happy enough.
After all the commotion, he's already back to his old self again. But I haven't told him about the murder. That would be a bit too much for him.
I think he's made of sterner stuff.
I want to thank you again for what you did on the train. I wouldn't have known...
Everything's fine. Think nothing of it. How was last night for you?
It was awful. I was having a conversation with Edgar, Professor Lucien, here on the forecastle. Then I wanted to look for the lady and went forward via the side deck. When I passed the Baroness's cabin, I heard a muffled scream.
You heard a scream?
Yes. I thought the Baroness probably had a fall. I went to the door and listened for a moment. Since I couldn't hear anything, I knocked on the door and asked whether she was all right. There was no answer.
Interesting. And then?
I didn't know what to do, so I tried to open the door. It was locked. I saw the Baroness's butler, Mr. Inch, on the forecastle. I thought he might have the key and went back. On the way, the bobby crossed my path, and then Edgar, who wanted to check the safe. I explained the situation to him, and then the alarm went off.
How did the scream sound?
It was a short outcry, very frightened, as if someone had been startled.
Was it a woman's voice?
Yes, the voice was high.
So it could have been a scream from the Baroness. Possibly because she discovered someone in her cabin.
Possibly.
That person might have threatened her with a weapon, so that she wouldn't scream for help.
Oh, God.
He waited until the coast was clear.
Oh, please, stop it, Mr. Zellner.
The Baroness's butler said that he was on the forecastle as well?
Yes, he was standing on the other side of the deck smoking a cigarette.
Was he on the forecastle the whole time?
I'm not sure. He was there, and later he was on the side deck with us. Oh, yes, he looked after you while you were unconscious. He unbuttoned your collar and held your head while the doctor checked you.
But you can't say for certain whether he came from the forecastle with you and Professor Lucien, or afterwards.
Well, no. But where else could he have come from?
Did you report that to Inspector Legrand?
Yes, last night. He was very interested and took a lot of notes. But I wanted to look for Lady Westmacott, and he let me go without further delay. He said that he'd take down my full statement today.
I understand.
Do you think the man from the train also killed the Baroness, Constable Zellner?
I don't know yet.
It's horrible. Explosions, thieves, murderers. This isn't the right place for a lady and a little boy.
You and Professor Lucien seem to be having a lively conversation.
Oh, yes. He's an expert in ancient Egyptian art and preeminent in hieroglyphic research. He's the head of the Egyptian department in the British Museum, you know. And he's going to open an exhibition at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo.
Right. For the eye.
They had planned on exhibiting both jewels together for the first time in decades, but that's not going to happen now, sadly. I think it's quite upsetting for him.
We're working hard to ensure that at least one eye will be on display.
I know. I'll ask Lady Westmacott if she'd like to participate in the opening of the exhibition. I think it would be good for her.
And Professor Lucien will surely offer you a private tour. You're American, aren't you?
That's correct.
And you moved to England because of the job?
I lived in England before. During the Second World War, I volunteered. I worked in a pharmacy on a US base north of London.
In a pharmacy? Interesting.
Well, it was the war and everyone was sent where they could help best.
Please, go on, Mrs. Miller.
After the war, I studied music in London. I met my husband there. We married and went back to the States together.
He was also American?
No, English. But he said he had problems with his family and he wanted to be as far from them as possible.
And you gave up your studies for him?
Well, yes, I did.
Life as a single mother couldn't have been easy.
It was pretty tough then. I worked from morning till night and it was still only enough for the bare necessities. And I couldn't give Matt all the attention he needed.
And then Lady Westmacott entered your life.
It was like an angel appeared to me. She must have offered me the position out of pity. I had no experience as a carer. She made me a generous offer. I couldn't believe it. And she really adores Matt. She's offered him a good education, and now he has every opportunity in life.
An almost unbelievable story.
I'm still afraid that it's a dream and that I'll wake up one day.
How does it feel to work for such a world-famous person?
The work is very interesting and varied, and it pays well too.
You are very lucky that the lady offered the position to you.
I just hope she won't change her mind one day. What would become of Matt's education then? I really make an effort to measure up to Lady Westmacott's expectations, but sometimes I feel like I fall short.
Lady Westmacott couldn't ask for a better companion.
I'm saving up as much money as I can all the same. I'd do anything so that Matt doesn't have to give up his new life.
Lady Westmacott dropped a hint on the train that she killed her hero, Partout. What did she mean by that?
Oh, she must have meant the manuscript.
Manuscript?
She always takes it with her. It's an unpublished Partout novel. I once asked her why she never published it. She said that according to her will, the novel's only to be published after her death.
And in it, Partout will be killed?
Maybe. I've never read it. No one has. You'd better ask her yourself.
If you worked in a pharmacy, you would certainly know something about medicines and poisons.
Everything is a potential poison, Constable. It depends on the dose.
Have you ever heard of chloral hydrate?
It's a tranquilizer, isn't it?
I'm asking you.
Well, Lady Westmacott also asked questions like that, for her last novel. But since I've never wanted to kill anyone, I never bothered with things like strychnine and arsenic and all that. I could recommend something for a headache, a sore throat, or a rash.
That's kind of you, but there's really no need. I'll be seeing you, Miss Miller.
Constable?